I genuinely believe that mastering is simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. Hello, my name is Ian Shepherd. I'm a mastering engineer, and you might have seen my production advice website or heard an episode of the Mastering Show podcast. Sound on Sound have asked me to make a short course of videos where I show you the essential tools and techniques that you need to master your own music effectively. It's a 6-part series, and I'm going to take you through exactly the same process that I use myself every time I master a piece of music. I'm going to be working in Wavelab, which I'm sure you're aware of is a pro mastering application made by Steinberg. But don't worry, the techniques, the strategies, the ideas I'm going to show you in these videos will work equally well in any DAW, digital audio workstation, and they will help you get better results, whatever audio software application you're using. So what am I going to be including in these videos? I'm going to show you my mastering chain, which is probably simpler than you might expect. I'm going to show you the 4 essential plugins that I use on every master, and there are only 4 that I use on probably 80 or 90% of the masters that I do. Some people are surprised by that. I'm going to tell you my goals when I'm mastering. I'm going to be talking about things like achieving balanced EQ and finding the loudness sweet spot, the perfect balance of loudness and dynamics, and giving you some ideas on finding what I think of as the center of gravity of each of the songs in a mastering sequence, so that when you listen to the songs as part of an album or a playlist or whatever it might be, you get this feeling of continuity from song to song that is a key element of mastering. And I think an important theme that's going to run through all of the videos is simplicity. I see so many videos out there online that make the mastering process so complicated. They have chains of 7, 8, 9 different plugins that all seem to fight with each other somehow and undo whatever the previous one did. I find it very confusing, very unclear. And I genuinely believe that mastering is simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. The overall process is straightforward, and I think when you understand that and how everything fits together, that enables you to get far better results and more quickly. You understand what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve, and that's extremely valuable. So here's an idea of the topics I'm going to be covering in this series. This video is an introduction and an overview, and in a minute I'm going to talk about what mastering actually is. In the second video, I'm going to talk about the 3 M's of mastering. I think there are 3 core concepts that you have to get to grips with if you want to be successful at any of the rest of this process. In the third video, I'm going to talk about loudness, how you can adjust it, and how you decide how loud you want to master and why you might want to make those choices. Video 4 is about balancing EQ in mastering, which is the heart and soul, really, of the whole process. The 5th video covers compression and limiting, and I talk about why it's different in mastering for me than when you're mixing or recording. And in the final video, I'm going to explain my recommendations for the specifications of the files that you submit for the various different formats and the different things that you're going to want to check before releasing your music. So first, we should probably talk about the elephant in the room. What is mastering? What do I mean by mastering when I talk about mastering? And I have 3 different answers to that. I have the short and sweet answer. I have the slightly longer, but hopefully also sweet answer. And I have the somewhat dry and technical answer. We won't spend too long on that one. So the short and sweet answer first is Mastering is making the music sound the best it can possibly be. It's about hearing what is already good or great about a mix, about an arrangement, the decisions that the artist and the producer have made, or kind of reflecting on what you have managed to achieve if you're working on your own music, and then taking that to the next level, getting it even better, even closer to the idea that we all have in our heads when we're working on the music. That's the short and sweet answer. The longer answer is an analogy I like to make. I like to think that mastering is like Photoshop for audio. So I'm sure if you've taken photographs with maybe your phone or a digital camera, you've had the experience that you take the best possible photograph you can. You choose a great subject, you get the lighting good, you frame it up as best you can, you use the best quality camera that you can get hold of. When you get to the stage of actually presenting that to somebody, maybe picking several out and putting them on the wall, or putting them in a photo book perhaps, they don't always look quite as good as you expected. Maybe the color balance is slightly off, or the exposure isn't right. There's too much or not enough contrast. And possibly if it was a portrait photograph, maybe there was a blob of food or something on somebody's face that you didn't notice when you took the shot. That's when you would use an image editing application like Photoshop, which helps you improve all of those things. You can rebalance the color, you can tweak the contrast and brightness, and you can probably repair the blob of food out of the picture. Exactly the same thing applies with music. When we make a recording, we have the best musicians we can, with the best instruments in the best space. We use the best microphones. We record it as best we can with the best quality, and we do whatever we can at the mix stage and with the arrangement to give the music the best possible impact that it can. But when you get to that final stage of collecting all those different songs together and presenting them as a playlist or an album or an EP, sometimes they don't sound as good as we might have hoped. And mastering is an opportunity to fix that. So exactly the same way as we might use an image editing piece of software for photographs, we can use a piece of mastering software and plugins and other processing to try and improve things in the mastering stage. So if we want to improve the overall EQ balance of the song, that's a little bit like tweaking the color balance in an image editing package. If we want to improve the dynamics, the contrast between the verse and the chorus and the overall loudness and how dense and full the sound is, that's a little bit like tweaking the brightness and contrast of an image. And if there are hiss or clicks or distortion or mic pops or something in the recording, we can probably improve those at the mastering stage as well. And that's a bit like trying to get rid of the rogue blob of food in a portrait photograph, or maybe power lines in a landscape that we didn't notice when we took the shot. In fact, you can extend that Photoshop analogy even further if you like. Imagine that you have this collection of photographs and you've got them all as good as they can possibly be, but then you want to put them up on the wall on display. You would then start deciding things like, well, where am I going to put them in the room? What kind of frame am I going to put them in? How big should the border be? Should there be a color to that or not? What kind of lighting am I going to use? What kind of spacing should there be between the photographs? And that's a bit like choosing how to master an album. We have decisions to make, like how loud should one song be relative to the other. Maybe that's analogous to the size of the photograph. We have to decide the spacing between the songs, just like we do between different photographs. We might choose for one to have a slightly darker tone EQ-wise than another, perhaps, and that could be a little bit like deciding what lighting to put on an image. It's exactly the same process of looking at the songs as a whole and trying to make decisions that will bring out the best in all of them. So that was the longer but still slightly sweet explanation of what is mastering. The dry and technical explanation is basically that mastering is getting the best possible delivery of the music for the destination format. So back in the day, that would have been vinyl or analog cassette or perhaps CD. Nowadays, probably we're talking about the right file format and resolution and specifications for online delivery, perhaps. Or maybe you are still releasing on CD and that's still relevant. So again, it's about optimizing what we're delivering to make sure that we're getting the best out of whatever that format might be, and that the results are going to translate to the widest possible range of listening systems. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what I consider to be mastering and the kinds of things that we're going to be tackling in these videos. I'm going to try and show you as much as I can in the time that's available. And let's start off first by just taking a look at what a mastering project looks like when I set it out in Wavelab, and how that might be different if you're using a different piece of software. So here I've got 3 songs that I'm going to be using as examples throughout the course of this video series. I'm going to be mastering them, pretending they're part of some slightly bizarre EP. We have a modern polished metal tune here by Johnny Locke called Promises and Lies. We have a much more indie poppy song called Another Day Calling by Turn Back to Spring. And we have, I guess, more of an R&B kind of track, finally, which is called Widow by Trivial. And all of these songs, by the way, come from Mike Senior's excellent Cambridge Music Technology website. You probably already know about Mike. He writes the Mix Rescue column for Sound on Sound, and in fact, 2 of these songs are previous Mix Rescue tracks, so you can read about his process for mixing the songs in the magazine, and we'll put the links to that in the video description for you. And Mike has actually made all of the unmastered mixes of these songs available on his site so that you can download them and experiment with some of the strategies and ideas that I'm showing you in these videos if you would like. And you can see here I've got the 3 songs laid out in sequence. This is Wavelab's montage view. You can edit individual files in Wavelab, or you can import multiple files into a montage like this. So one of the things that I like about Wavelab is that I can drop effects directly onto the clips. So you can see the inspector up here shows us which effects are being used. There's nothing on these 2 clips, but there is actually already a mastering processor effect on Promises and Lies already. This is very much the way that I like to work when I'm mastering. It means I can flick quickly between different songs to compare the sounds. It means that I can look in great detail at the starts and ends, the crossfades, and adjust the gaps. Wavelab has fantastic tools for creating and editing all of the information you need for a CD master. So pretty much with one click, I can add track IDs to these songs with the correct offsets. I can then tweak the song spacings if I would like. I can very quickly add CD text information, ISRC codes and other metadata, and then export the whole thing very quickly, which is something that we'll talk about in the final video in this series. But as I say, none of these things are essential. Let's say, for example, that your audio software doesn't allow you to drop effects directly onto individual clips. In that case, all you need to do is put each song onto its own channel in the mixer, and then apply individual processing to each channel. You don't have to have CD master support built into the DAW. There are other standalone applications that will allow you to do that, so you can simply export the single files and then sequence them and export a CD master later. Wavelab is perfect for me because it has everything in one place and it's all very easy to use. It has a great variety of different crossfade shapes, which I appreciate. And in particular, it allows me to export to a whole different variety of file formats very, very quickly with all of the track details and other metadata included automatically, which I really appreciate. And that means that the mastering process is simply a case of listening to each song in turn, deciding what kind of processing I want to use on it to get the best possible sound. I can preview the transitions between songs. I can quickly jump between similar sections of each song to hear them. And as I say, I think working in this way with individual stereo files all at the same time is the most effective way of working when you're mastering. And I'm going to be talking more about why I think that's important in the next video. So there you go. I hope that was helpful, seeing an overview of the mastering process in that way, and it should have given you some kind of idea of the kinds of things that I'm going to be showing you in the rest of the videos in this series. And if you found this video helpful, you might also like a free PDF that I've made called the Home Mastering Guide. You can get it at homemasteringguide.com. It outlines the 6 steps that I think are essential to releasing your music with complete confidence. It kind of summarizes all of the things that I'm going to be talking about in these videos and also goes into a little bit more detail on some subjects in a way that I think you'll find really helpful. It's just a simple PDF. It's completely free and you can get it at homemasteringguide.com if you're interested. And of course, please subscribe to the channel to make sure you get the rest of the videos in this series. My name is Ian Shepherd. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you for the next video.